listening to a Bored to Death Mandocast, talking all things Star Wars in easily digestible chunks.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Mandocast. I am Jay, being joined by
Chris
and
Zeke. But I thought I quit this.
Good binges follow orders. Yes, we are back for this. We're doing a 2-episode binge this week because last week you were working, and so we just sort of postponed it. Although, in the interest of full disclosure, Zeke and I have seen last week's episode.
Okay.
Have you seen last week's episode?
No.
Good. So we'll still get a fresh reaction. So we're not going to do any sort of
I was like, I'll wait.
Not too much. Yeah, we'll not do too much discussion on this. Although he and I, or at least I, certainly want to see your reaction to something from the first episode of this. I'm not going to say what, but you'll know it when you see it.
So to quote River Song, spoiler, sweetie.
Basically. But when we last left off on the Mandocast, the Bad Batch went to Bracca to make use of a clone cruiser from the Clone Wars that has a medical facility on it, so they could remove the chips. Wrecker's chip activated. There was a fight, but the Batch has now had their chips removed. But at the end of the episode, the Scrappers Guild spotted them and were like, notify the Empire. So we're probably going to end up, we're going to see the Batch run into Crosshair again. No real spoilery there, because the name of the first episode of this 2-part binge that we're doing is called Reunion. That's kind of a big clue.
Very big clue.
So we're going to see how things go between the Batch and Crosshair, because Crosshair, well, he's the Batch's brother.
Yeah, the brother you don't talk about, because he tries to shoot you in the face every time you talk about him.
He's the black sheep.
Especially given the armor that he's wearing these days.
Black.
Yep.
He's the original Death Trooper.
Pretty much. Yeah. And last time we saw him, he was like, "Hey, who wants to commit a war crime?"
Oh, you don't? Guess what?
Good soldiers follow orders. So yeah, we're gonna see some of that, and then, well, I can't really say anymore because we haven't seen the episode, and saying any more would be spoiler. So I think that's gonna be a pretty quick intro for this.
I forgot how fast these intros go through. Usually they're about 15 minutes, but they were doing 3s.
Yeah, because, well, while there is stuff that I want to talk about, I can't talk about it because Chris hasn't seen it yet. But that's going to change shortly. So that will wrap up this intro. So we'll see you after the binge.
Hey, while we're watching this episode, you should go ahead and toss us a like and subscribe. If you want to reach out, do it via our social media on Facebook or Twitter at BTD_Bingecast. The Bored to Death Clan is part of the CKCC Radio podcast tribe, including Jay Bunny's Music Hub, the Race Nerd Podcast, Real Paranormal Talk, Ranking Tracks, Motivational Moves, Park Hopper 101, and The Nerd Table. Imperial credits may not be worth much, but remember to support CKCC Radio on Patreon. I have spoken.
And we're back. So, we'll talk about the first episode, Reunion, episode 8, where, the Empire responds to the Scrappers Guild finding Clone Force 99, aka the Bad Batch, on Bracca. And so Crosshair gets dispatched with his proto-Death Troopers.
And the remaining clone troops.
And 3 shuttles worth of clone troops to go apprehend them. And Crosshair is a dangerous opponent for the Batch because he knows how they
operate.
Yeah, as he tells Hunter, you're too predictable. Because he basically knew exactly the route that they would take. He knew that they would tap into their comms, and that they would divert through the artillery deck. And then when that didn't pan out, he knew where they would go next. It's just like he knew, yeah, he's exactly the worst. He's like the worst opponent for them in that case.
Well, I mean, someone who memorizes your playbook, every playbook, obviously going to be a worse enemy for fighting. He's like, and you're going to go here, here, and here. How did he know that? I've been with you for how many years?
But even then, the Batch still managed to surprise him because in the confrontation when they heard over the comms that they were going to try to divert them through the hangar, they were like, we'll go through the artillery deck instead. Surprise, he turns up and is just like, you're too predictable. They try talking him down. Of course, he won't listen. They're like, why even come after us? He's like, you're traitors. And they try to basically say, it's like, you're being controlled. And Omega's like, there's a chip in your head. Remember I told you in the brig it wasn't your fault? And he just looks at Hunter, making sure to keep himself between Crosshair and Omega. Crosshair just tilts his head and then just goes, aim for the kid. It's just like, he is way too perceptive.
He was just like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, they didn't tell me to bring her back alive. If she's with you, then she's a traitor too.
Aim for the nose.
Mm-hmm. But they basically hacked into the systems and started the cannons on the artillery deck shooting, which caused the deck to start collapsing around them. They got away from them and went through the ion engine chamber. But he knew that's where they would go, so he just cut them off and had his troops start activating the engine. But that's when the Batch surprised him by using some of the explosives that they were salvaging, because they were planning to sell those to Sid to wipe their debt. And they just plant a bunch of the charges around the chamber to take the blast cone off the back, so that they could then ride that cone down. And Crosshair, seeing it coming loose, gets ready to shoot, and then just basically takes the engine blast straight in the face.
That's the most brilliant idea ever. Hey, look, this thing's falling as part of an engine. Let me take my sniper and look at it at close range. How is he able to?
He was trying to see if he could spot any of the
Batch.
Bad Batch to shoot them.
Attack of
Obviously,
opportunity.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Obviously, he couldn't because the damn thing was falling just a little too fast for him, and he couldn't react fast enough to
get out of the blast range.
Well, it's also the fact that you're looking into a jet engine. A space engine, which is probably very bright.
Yeah, and it but the blast basically knocked his helmet off. He took some of the blast straight in the face. We saw him immediately cringing and raising his hands to shield it. He's like, turn the engine off, and then just sort of passes out from pain. And yeah, he sends his troops to go after the Batch. But the next time we see him after that, the medic's gotten there. They've splinted his leg. One of his arms is in a sling. He's got bandages all over his face and a breathing mask on.
He's got one eye covered now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he only needs one eye to do his job.
Well,
he was jacked up.
My suspicion is he is going to be turned into the first Death Trooper.
That's what I was saying, because his armor looks like...
The armor alone looks like the Death Trooper armor.
Yeah. So who knows, the Death Troopers may have been based off of him.
And to clarify for those of you who may not know the difference, the Death Troopers are the black armored ones that we saw with Director Krennic in Rogue One. They are still human with cybernetic enhancements, as opposed to the Dark Troopers, which was the thing that Moff Gideon had made in Mandalorian Season 2, which are full droid. Very, very deadly and dangerous, but droid. And, but the Batch gets split up when the blast cone crashes down. Hunter and Omega head back for the shuttle. But when they get there, the clones that had sort of set up a perimeter around it are all dead. And Hunter's like, this isn't the work of...
It's like, we didn't do this.
Yeah, we didn't do this. There's somebody else here. And that's when we get the big surprise. It was
Cad Bane.
Yep. When I watched this with Zeke only knew him based solely on his looks because you have not watched Clone Wars.
But even I know he's supposed to be a badass.
Mm-hmm. As I basically said, I think you might have seen him on old commercials on Cartoon Network when the Clone Wars cartoon was airing there, because he was all over the hype for I think season 3.
Yeah, I know that on the
Season 3 they emphasized the bounty hunters.
Well, I know in if you go on iTunes and you look for the Clone Wars seasons on there, he's on the cover of one of the seasons. I think it's the season where he makes his debut.
Which is no, he technically made his debut at the end of season 1, but I think they started he didn't make another appearance and then more regular appearances until season 3, because of the weird back and forth in the timeline thing that the Clone Wars cartoon did.
Well, that's because of the way George Lucas likes to film shit.
Was it Lucas specifically?
Well, it's in his style.
Okay.
Because I remember you said that when you looked up the actual viewing order for Clone Wars, you said that it had to do with the fact that they did it essentially the way that George Lucas wanted it to be done.
Okay.
Instead of there being the actual viewing order that they wanted to do.
Yeah. Regardless, it seeing Cad Bane turn up when I was watching, I was like, oh shit, because as Zeke said, he is a badass. He is not a bounty hunter you want to run across.
Nope.
And he's just we cue the Western-esque sort of music cues in the scene.
Just put on the Good, the Bad, the Ugly theme song.
Well, yeah,
the whistle at the beginning.
Yeah. Wah, wah, wah. It was very much like that, as he basically is very nonchalant about the fact they took out a whole squadron of clone troopers, because he's like, I've fought so many clones. Once you figured out one, the rest are easy. And he and Hunter have a showdown. It does not go well for Hunter. Hunter might be a good tracker, but he is not a good gunslinger.
No.
He is good when he can line up the shot, but if he has to quick draw against somebody like Cad Bane, nah.
No, instead he shoots his droid.
Well,
in the
except having now seen that scene twice, Bane gets his shot off first, and him hitting Hunter is what causes Hunter's shot to go wide. It's like split second.
But it all worked out in the end, though.
Yes. But Hunter's down. He then adjusts the setting on his blaster, stuns Omega, and he's apologetic about it. He's like, "Sorry, little lady."
The thing is that I think he might have a code. No, don't hurt kids.
Yeah, maybe. But I suspect if the kid in question were to aggravate him enough, he might be just everybody has a line that they won't cross until they got to.
It's like the Predator, one of the Predators in the first Alien vs. Predator film, the one that Lance Henriksen decided to light on fire. It was going to leave Lance Henriksen's character alone because he could see that he was a sickly old man who was like, nope. And the second he lit him on fire, he was like, bitch, I told you to leave me alone, and then he kills him.
Same thing was true with the Predator in the second Predator movie.
Yeah, didn't kill the one woman because she was pregnant.
Yep.
Because they do have a code.
Mm-hmm. But it's just sort of like, hey, but I have a code that I won't kill you, but if you push me,
don't get mad at me for doing what I'm about to do.
Exactly. Fortunately, Hunter survives getting shot in the chest. The Batch finds him. They hustle him onto their ship and they get away. That's the cliffhanger at the end of the episode. It's like, Omega's been captured by a bounty hunter, and the Empire is still closing in, sort of thing. But it picks up pretty much right there in the next episode, Bounty Lost. The Batch manages to get away before Crosshair can shoot them down. Hunter doesn't want to jump to hyperspace, but they're like, if we stay here, we're dead. And so they jump away, and Crosshair's pissed. And Omega, well, she tries to tries to strike up an accord of sorts with Bane's droid, Toto or whatever.
It's like, if you let me go, I'll fix your leg.
And it's like, if you let me out of this cell, I'll fix your leg. And he's just sort of like, you are a prisoner, so stay right there.
It's like, yes, but that means I have no way of escaping.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
It's like, I'm on a ship. Where am I going to go? Spoiler, he does eventually let her out of her cell to help fix his leg. And he's like, it needs to be calibrated, so she's like adjusting the calibration in the back of his head. And he's like, ooh, it's just like new. And then she just shuts him down.
Found a way to shut him up.
Yep. But we get a little bit more intrigue in that when we cut back to Kamino, where, after Bane tells the Prime Minister, it's like, I've got your property, send the payment to this location.
Send the payment to my PayPal.
Well, and they're like, no, we'll send somebody with your payment. We prefer cash because it can't be tracked that way. And and Nala something, the Kaminoan that was with Omega in the first episode, volunteers to go with the payment, and the Prime Minister is just sort of like, your personal connection to Omega has already compromised too much, and he sends someone else with the payment. And for a moment, I almost thought they were on Bespin.
I thought the same thing too because of the clouds, and I was like, no, the Bespin clouds are like...
plus the facility was just very, very Cloud City-esque.
Yeah.
But it was a different planet, and as soon as they touch down, Omega very quickly, hacks into like the secure compartment, finds her comm device, manages to get off the ship as Bane is, then getting pissed because he's just like, oh god, she got away. She manages to get in touch with the Batch, who by this point have managed to identify Cad Bane by looking up old Republic records. Because after all, he did have several run-ins with the Jedi, so...
Yeah, mostly with Obi-Wan, though.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, it was Obi-Wan.
I think he may have had a couple of encounters with Anakin, but only when Obi-Wan was also there.
Yeah.
And, well, they're just sort of like, we can't really, the signal is so weak, they can't really triangulate where she is, so she needs to, set up a power surge or find some way to signal them. So she's then trying to make her way through this, but Bane catches up to her, basically slaps a pair of handcuffs on her, and it's just like, you're coming with me, by hook or by crook, you're coming with me. And I think he even said, you're lucky they want you alive.
Otherwise he'd be like, dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me. But as he's trying to haul her away, Toto on the ship is just like, there's another ship coming in. And Bane is already immediately getting ready to go on the defensive. And then we hear a gunshot. As soon as I heard it, I was like, that wasn't the Batch. Because just the sound of the blast was not like their blasters and the blasters.
It's funny because you can usually tell, like, a lot of times the blasters have a distinctive sound.
Mm-hmm. Especially specific characters have like their trademark weapons. It's like Chewbacca's bowcaster has a very distinctive, gunshot sound.
His is loud.
Yes. Han's blaster sounds different from the standard stormtrooper rifles or the blasters that Luke would use in the first couple of the original trilogy.
I mean, I think Han's was pretty much I wouldn't really say customized for him, but I mean, we saw it how he got it in Solo.
Yeah. Well, but that's when he got it. He could easily have tweaked and modified it over the next 20 years.
It's like, what, this ain't strong
15
enough.
15 years more likely.
This ain't strong enough. Let me jack that up a little bit. All right, there we go. Now I can just shoot one stormtrooper and kill 5.
Or I can shoot one Greedo in the stomach and cook him.
Literally cook him.
Sorry about the mess. But when Bane, then proceeds towards where the gunshot was heard, we see the Kaminoan that had been sent with the payment dead, and it's Fennec Shand. I knew it was going to be her because they, as much as they like to introduce a new character every now and then, they still like to limit the cast.
It's kind of cool to see old characters meeting new ones, though.
Yeah, but if I'm honest, one of the reasons I knew it was going to be hers because I watched the mid-season trailer, and she was in it, and there were clips from this episode in it, so that's sort of how I knew. But she, had her gun drawn on Bane, and she had the briefcase essentially with the money in it.
I got your money right here, buddy.
And it's like Bane knew who she was, and they're just having like a little showdown, and she's just like, I just want the kid. I've got the money. How about we trade? And he's like, all right, you first. But that's when Toto shows up, grabs the case away from her, and then we have a shootout.
Yeah, and Toto loses the damn money.
Yeah.
If only they weren't greedy, they might actually pay it off.
Yeah, it's like they'd actually reached an accord. If Toto hadn't shown up and ruined everything, then there would have been a trade-off. Bane would have gotten his money, which is all he really cared about. And at that point he's just like, my job's done. I don't, sort of thing.
Like, well, my job's done here.
I've been paid, so I'm happy. I'm satisfied. And well, it's just the money gets lost. There's stuff getting shot around, and Fennec. Well, and when Omega runs away from the fight, she ends up in part of the disused Kaminoan facility, where we see a bunch of tanks
that with swamp water inside of them.
Yeah, like green muck and stuff in them, and Fennec turns up and is just sort of like. It becomes immediately clear that she is not working for the Prime Minister, because she's like, "Trust me, if you'd gone back with him, you wouldn't have liked what they were going to do." Because as the Batch finds out, Tech finally did checked her DNA and said she's got first generation clone DNA in her.
And there's only one other person who has that.
As a clone.
I just got it now.
Alpha and Omega.
Alpha and Omega, yeah.
It took you that long?
I didn't think about it until now.
And they say I'm the slow one.
But yes, there was only one, as far as Tech knew, there was only one other clone that had pure first gen DNA in him, clone designated as Alpha, or as he's better known now, Boba. And that still doesn't answer the question of who Omega's,
I'm wondering if she's just
other X chromosome comes from.
I'm honestly wondering if whether or not they just were just like, okay, well, let's make a female one, and all they had to do was change one of the chromosomes and boom.
Yeah, instead, basically remove the Y chromosome, insert another X chromosome, and then.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would necessarily do it. It's fine if that's all that they did. But...
I mean, so technically, Omega is Boba's sister then.
Yes. But, which would technically, we don't know how many generations down the Batch is, which would make her like Auntie. Uncle Boba and Aunt Omega.
Yes.
But
with Daddy Django.
Papa Django. Daddy Django has different connotations to it that I'm just like, no. But Papa Django.
Could you imagine what Father's Day would have been like for Django?
Imagine what Father's Day would have been like for Vader.
Oh God.
or Han.
Here you go, Luke. Sorry about your hand.
What about Father's Day for Han?
Before or after?
Well, we saw Ben give Han his Father's Day gift. Straight to the heart.
Well, no, I'm talking about like before he went to the dark side or after he went to the dark side.
Yes, yeah. Ben Solo sending a Father's Day card from the Jedi Academy.
No, you know who you got.
And a pic with like a picture of him with his first lightsaber.
No, the thing is that you gotta.
Zeke is just over here shaking his head.
No, the thing is that you gotta feel sorry for Chewbacca because he probably helped raise Ben. Only to watch him turn to the dark side.
Oh yeah. But there, most of the episode was the fight between Bane and Fennec, and at the beginning of the fight, it's just like she's using sort of the martial arts stuff, and he's just basically like barroom brawling kind of stuff, very skilled, like hand to hand, melee fighting. But it's like he hit her with like a headbutt, and I was like, it's gunslinger Fu versus Wushu.
Yeah, I said East meets West.
Very much so, because he's got the whole Western vibe going with him, and she's got much more of the Eastern vibe, the Asian vibe going. And Omega eventually manages to make it to like a flight pod.
It was essentially Clint Eastwood versus Mulan.
Yeah, the man with no name versus Mulan.
Yes.
And Omega makes it to a flight pod and manages to fly away, and Bane gets to his ship to try to pursue her, but Fennec sabotaged his ship and he can't take off. And the Batch manages to make it there and catches Omega before her pod crashes somewhere down in that in the clouds, and she's just kind of freaking out about why are the Kaminoans after me,
and they're like, we should tell her.
Yeah, and Hunter basically is like, you're very valuable to them. I don't know if he told her the full extent of what they knew.
Probably not, otherwise we wouldn't have cut back to Cat Bane trying to take off.
Yeah. But he by the end of the episode, he basically said, when she's like, they're going to keep sending people after me. And he's like, they can send the whole galaxy. We're not letting you go without a fight. She's like, yeah, that's family for you. But yeah, it was a good couple of episodes. Seeing Cad Bane turn up again makes me, if he survives through this series,
you want him in Book of Boba Fett.
I want him in Book of Boba Fett. Because from what I understand, Book of Boba Fett is going to actually flash back and show what happened to Boba after he crawled out of the Sarlacc pit.
See, I heard that it's supposed to start off between Empire and Jedi.
Could be. That's even better. It's a little bit earlier in the timeline, but show us more of Boba. How he got out of the Sarlacc pit. Maybe some of his early bounty hunting stuff.
The only thing that I heard in terms of that was that he blasted his way out.
I'd believe it. Obviously, not without taking a little bit of acid to the face, because
yeah.
Then again, we don't know when exactly he got some of those scars all over.
Plus, do you think the Krayt Dragon ate that Sarlacc?
Possible. The Krayt Dragon may just have been like, I smell Sarlacc. There's good eating on those. But I don't think the Krayt Dragon we saw was the one ate that specific Sarlacc, because it was way more remote from Mos Eisley / Jabba's palace than it sort of led on.
Yeah, so who knows how many Krayt Dragons are actually on Tatooine.
How many Sarlaccs are on Tatooine? There's at least 2.
That we know of.
Yep. But, we know Fennec's going to be in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But, I, again, just want to see more characters from the animation in live action.
So you just want the bounty hunter characters?
Yes. You want them too, don't lie.
I want IG-88.
Or one of any of the IGs.
Well, if
what if we had an early IG-11?
Oh,
like before he got shot in the head and became a nurse.
Oh, if we showed like his early days.
Yeah, or just any of the IGs. It doesn't have to be IG-88 or IG-11.
Yeah, but if we're no longer considering Shadow of the Empire canon, then IG-88 is technically not dead.
This is true
because he was one of the bosses.
What about Dash Rendar?
I've been saying that for a while.
Yeah,
now.
come on, give us Dash.
I was saying that in
Zeke's just over here like, what are you guys talking about?
I thought that they were gonna have Dash, at least a younger version of Dash, show up in Rebels when we saw the ship that looked like his pop up, and I'm like, is that Dash Rendar? No.
Yeah, but yeah, the Bad Batch. We're now past the halfway point in the season or series. We don't know if this is going to continue after this season. I personally would like to see it keep going because there's a whole lot of ground you can cover between now and when Rebels starts.
You know what I never understood, since I have Star Wars fans here, maybe why have they never gone on an off time loop branch?
What do you mean?
Marvel's doing it right now. Hey, look, here's Loki. He's doing this timeline thing. Why hasn't Rebels ever done something like that? Or Star Wars? Like, hey.
We've never really seen any sort of time travel thing in Star Wars to introduce that sort of alternate timeline.
Yeah,
well, no, not even alternate timeline.
Like a multiverse sort of thing?
Yeah, here's an alternate path that we could have gone. Instead of Darth Vader being the one that survived.
You know, that's a good point. Why didn't we get like a what if sort of collection of short stories? You know, back in Star Wars
what
Legends.
If Vader never turned to the dark side?
Stuff like that. I mean, in the old canon, there were several collections of stories like Tales from Mos Eisley, Tales from the Cantina, telling stories of the various other people in the Mos Eisley Cantina, Tales from Jabba's Palace. You know, where they, you're exploring some of the stories of these minor characters, who all happen to be in that one location. Not necessarily what their day was on that day, but like giving their backstories. It's like, why haven't we ever seen some sort of tales, like Zeke says, where it's just like what if stories? What if Anakin never turned to the dark side? What if Luke hadn't made that shot?
Why was Han didn't shoot first?
We've already seen that.
Yeah. What if Han didn't shoot first? Yes,
Greedo still missed.
Yes. And it's like what all those sorts of what ifs.
I mean, I'm sure you can if they put this mainly in comic form, Marvel will definitely do it since they're the ones doing the Star Wars comics again.
Yep. Well, here's the thing though. We know that there's a what if series coming for Marvel.
Why not one for Star Wars, right?
Right? I mean, come on. Doesn't have to be like long things. You keep them entirely self-contained, like a one-episode what if.
You sure about that?
I am positive that they are doing like a what if for Marvel.
No. Well, yeah, that's already been confirmed.
I'm talking about the Marvel being the ones that are in charge of Star Wars.
Marvel is the one doing the Star Wars comics. All the ever since
Remember who owns Marvel now?
Yeah, but I remember seeing this when I was doing my search for Sonic the Hedgehog comic books. IDW are actually doing the ones for Star Wars.
That's weird because all the ones that I've seen,
all the
newer ones that I've seen at Barnes and Noble are all published from Marvel.
It may be that they still have some sort of contract with IDW to produce comics for maybe of a specific line, and it's just like they still have to ride out that contract.
Probably. And
then once they're done, Disney's going to be like, okay, you've had fun. We're taking our toys back now. Because, Disney wants to try to keep stuff in-house as much as possible these days.
Yeah.
And mind you, that house just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's a subject for a different rant, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I've heard is that a lot of times when people can't figure out who they want to vote for in terms of the presidency, they'll just write in Mickey Mouse. So at this
it's
point,
only a matter of time.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time to once where all of our choices really are shit. And then people
God bless America! I can't do a Mickey Mouse voice.
Well, we already know who's going to beat Mickey Mouse before that even happens. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
President Rock would be freaking awesome. But yeah, it was an interesting couple of episodes. Still not really sure where they're going to go from here because they sort of have to resolve the whole Crosshair situation. As well as, it's like there are certain things that they kind of need to get to by the end of the season and then still leave it maybe open for season 2, but who knows where that's going to go. We're completely in uncharted territory. It's like during the Clone Wars series, it's like
We knew where it was going.
we knew that the end result of Anakin's story and Obi-Wan's story and Mace Windu and any of the other Jedi that we'd seen in the movies. We knew that Palpatine was going to win. In Rebels, yeah, it's a new group of characters, so things are sort of open-ended, but they're sort of forming the Rebel Alliance, so we sort of know where things are going to go from there. Anytime a canon character showed up in Rebels, we knew that they were going to make it out alive. The Princess Leia episode, we knew she was going to survive.
Yeah.
Tarkin, when he made appearances, when he's made appearances in any of these things, we know he's going to survive. Palpatine, get in danger, we know he's going to survive. In this, but here, since we're focusing almost entirely on the Bad Batch,
We don't know who's going to survive.
exactly, it's in completely uncharted territory, and that's kind of exciting. It also makes it difficult to predict where things are going to go sometimes because it is so open-ended.
Who is going to appear in the next episode? Stay tuned and find out.
Holy shit, is that Darth Vader? Whoops, wrong franchise.
I mean, he could turn up. It wouldn't go well for the Batch if he did. We remember the hallway scene in Rogue One.
I remember all the episodes where Vader turned up in Rebels.
Yep, and it was very much, it's just like, run, you will not win.
The friggin' battle between him and Ahsoka on the Sith, what was it, the Sith Temple? That was epic.
Well, and with Ezra staring him down and being like, I am not afraid of you, and Vader just going, then you will die braver than most. and I'm just like, that's a badass line.
Friggin' Ahsoka managed to damage his helmet and revealed Anakin's face underneath.
Well, yeah, just
Yellow
like
eye.
a slash of it with the yellow eye, but yeah. And that's when she knew. It's like, it is Anakin.
So speaking of which, supposedly, I don't know how true this is, but supposedly Anakin is going to make an appearance in Ahsoka.
Makes sense.
Obviously, as a Force ghost, and obviously Hayden Christensen is already coming back. And
So this is Ahsoka post Return of the Jedi?
No, this is supposed to be Ahsoka, like the live action with what's her face, Rosario Dawson.
Yeah. So Mandalorian, yeah. Post Return of the Jedi,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
So it's supposed to take place, I think, after the events of her episode in Mandalorian.
Okay. Her trying to hunt down Thrawn, I guess.
Yeah.
Live action Thrawn. Live action Ezra Bridger, maybe.
And apparently, Hayden Christensen is also supposed to be in the Obi-Wan series also. Now, in what form, whether he's come back as Vader or not, I don't know.
Or dream sequence sort of thing.
That's my guess, but who knows?
I mean, if they get Hayden Christensen in to basically be in the Vader suit, yeah, with James Earl Jones doing the voice, or if he gets too old and he can't do the voice anymore, whoever they get.
No, they should just get the guy who voiced Vader in the Force Unleashed games.
Yeah.
Since he was pretty close.
I mean, who they had in Rebels did a pretty damn good job.
That was James Earl Jones.
It was James Earl Jones?
Yeah, they said that the first thing that they did when they started playing that show was to make sure that James Earl Jones was available.
Okay, I couldn't
to voice Vader.
But yes, if then in that case, if James Earl Jones isn't available, the guy they used in Force Unleashed, definitely. I know that Vader makes an appearance in Fallen Order, but I have deliberately avoided watching the scene because I don't want to get spoiled too much.
Same here, because I haven't finished it.
Same.
The game is literally Dark Souls with a Star Wars skin.
Yeah. Dark Side Souls. Or just Dark Sides.
Would that mean to be an add-on called Light Side Souls?
Cricket sounds.
Yeah, this is where having a camera up would be good. Just me staring at Zeke. Which is how I usually respond when somebody makes a bad joke like that. I'm just like,
No, you face palm and send them that GIF that says "Get out."
well, that's in our chats. I'm talking like in person sort of thing. I'm just like,
No,
Nah.
bad.
I'm doing like the disappointed Tommy Lee Jones.
Where it looks like your son just came up
Just
to you
sort of
and said
like-
he was to ride tricycles professionally.
It's just sort of like, why do you disappoint me, son? But it was a good couple of episodes. And I'm sure you like to see Cad Bane turn up when he.
I've been waiting for them to bring Cad Bane back somehow, like whether it was in Mandalorian or in this. I know you want Hondo back.
Yes, come on. Tell me that Hondo wouldn't be awesome.
Hondo will be good in this show also,
Yes.
simply because he could help them out.
Exactly. So if Hondo turns up in the back half of this season, yes, please. And we know that he'll survive because he turns up in Rebels.
Rebels, yeah.
But I don't really have much else to add.
Oh, same here.
See?
Happy Stitch Day.
Happy Stitch Day, I guess.
Happy Stitch Day.
626.
Oh, nice.
Miga nala twista!
Yeah.
But yeah, that will wrap up this edition of the Mandocast. So for Zeke and Chris, I am Jay, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Abort to Death Mandocast. Be sure to check out all the Star Wars content on Disney Plus and give us a like and subscribe. This is the way.